I got into cake making about 20 years ago now, basically really through making cakes for my children. Found it a lot more cheaper to do it that way. I've just made this cake for my granddaughter, Lainey. She was born about a week ago now, and we're having a bit of celebration at the weekend, so we can enjoy some cake. I made this particular cake. It's a Victoria sandwich. It took me about 4 hours. You start off with making your sponge cake and putting your jam and cream in it. Then making your icing. If you want different colours, you can buy your different dyes to colour your icing, whichever colour you want. To do the stenciling on a cake, like making your names or any patterns you want to do, I usually do it with tracing paper, trace the names or the pattern, whatever's that you're going to do, and then turn it over, rewrite it on the back, and then press it onto the cake, do an indentation of it, and then hopefully when you ice it, it should come out looking a bit like what you've done. Coming up with designs, really, you just look around at shop windows, just see different things that just catch your eye and you think, oh, that's a good idea to make a cake. And, other people will tell you what they want if, they want a specific thing. When I came up with this particular design, I just thought, oh, it's a new baby. Obviously, it's a bit harder to do a cot, so I thought, oh, well, I'll do a bed. And just, turned out like this.
I got invited to come over to the estate to join in with the baking that had already begun. So we were previously based over at the health park, and there was a cafe being run there by an organisation called Whisk, and they teamed up with the local community group who were interested in doing some more things in the community, and linked up with the chefs there, and said, well, one of the chefs had had the idea of wanting to always kind of run a community bakery, so they thought, well, let's get some recipes going. We're just really enjoying being able to participate, learn new skills in it. And so as soon as I saw it, I came to one of the workshops. I just thought, this is brilliant. Some people who, for whatever, we've had different links in terms of relationships here on the estate, and people hear it and go, oh, could I join in with that? That sounds right. And so we invite them to just give it a go. And then those who like it stay and really kind of bond together and really have a laugh. So, lots of people talking about it as their time of the week where they just get to let their hair down, relax, and get to make something that tastes really good. It's basically just full of laughter. Lots of people just really enjoy being together, and it's a chance to just unwind from the week. People share what's going on. People just keep it light and friendly, really, and which means it's a very inviting space for other people to come and join in with. As people just realise, hours go by, and we're just doing something fairly simple, really, which we just enjoy doing. But by having a regular space every week where the same people get together, we've all got closer by doing it, which means that people matter more to you.
Easy steps to make an omelette. Step 1, put your pan on the heat first. Step 2, have the bowl and your fork ready, or whisk. Crack your eggs, obviously depending on what sort of omelette you need. If it's mushrooms, or add them to your pan, which now should be smoking. Whisk your eggs up, add that to your mixture on the pan. Give a good shake with a little fork. Turn, fold your omelette, leave it for a couple of seconds to colour, and it should tip straight onto your plate.
My favourite fish, my favourite fish got to be salmon. I love salmon, yeah. And pan fry, simplest. Just pan fry it, just on its back, on the skin, and at the last minute just turn it over to brown the other side, that's all. It's fun, lovely. But a new way now is to bake in the oven. I put them in a bag with butter, and I seal it, and then all the customer does actually is take it home, light their oven up, and put the fish in the oven. And then they've got no washing up other than the plate and the knife and fork. Believe it or not, the best way to cook a whole salmon for a party, say, is to leave everything on and cook it in a dishwasher. And you put it in, you empty the dishwasher, you put the fish in a lot of foil, big sheets of foil, and then you just dress it in with a bit of garlic, bacon, mushrooms, peppers, and you seal it with a drizzle of oil, seal it all up, you put it on the top of the dishwasher and you put it on a full cycle. And I can honestly guarantee you, you've got a lovely cooked salmon. That's if you haven't got like a fish kettle.
If it weren't for pheasant shoots, the population of pheasant, even the wild ones, they ain't wild because they survive from the shoots, and there wouldn't be that population out there. You wouldn't see a pheasant in the field because basically the shoots are keeping them open. You've got the dogs who go and get the pheasants and they're still alive, but there's always somebody there to finish the job off. So, but it's very rare. In the shoots, we've got, they shove a white pheasant in the shoot for one reason only. You're not allowed to shoot a white pheasant. Nothing to do with bad luck or nothing. It was originally, I think, I don't know the full story of this, but the story I've been told over so many years is whoever shoots a white pheasant pays £120 for that bird. That's just to keep people concentrating on what they're doing. A lot of the pheasant keepers now keep guinea fowl with their pheasants, mainly for terrant for foxes. So what will happen, a guinea fowl are roost up in a tree all night with the pheasants, and if a fox or somebody walked underneath, he's off making a noise.
So I like cooking food from all over the world, which I've got the opportunity to do now. A more diverse variety of food that we're used to cooking at home. Because my wife has got limited skills basically, or meat and two-veg English or Italian we do at home. But not Chinese, she wouldn't love Chinese or spicy or anything like that. So to have that variety, the opportunity to cook variety of foods now from all over the world is great, yeah. We're doing more cooking, like today we're doing ravioli, which is an Italian meal, pasta, etc. But we could be making stew or salad or anything really, so it's very diverse. So the opportunity to learn is limitless really. I think people need to want to cook. They've got to have that desire to cook, to come. Because a lot of people might come along and try cooking and decide it's not for them. But for the people that want to cook and learn to cook and a diverse range of meals, then I do, yes. I'd encourage them to come along every time.
I will cut the wings off. I'll come up to about the shoulder and usually I'll cut the neck bone out then. Then finish off by cutting the legs on the joint, breaking them and removing them, and then he's almost ready for the table. So what I'll do, I'll bring the knife up round towards me, all the way around, again on the inside. No, you ain't gonna go. So basically you don't want to go unless he goes on the joint this one. That means I got a funny feeling this is a strong bird. You hear that? And he just clicked. Off again, wing. You bring the head up. You look for the joint, which I can feel just inside there. You bring your knife carefully across the joint. And the pheasant's head's there. You cut round near as you can to the joint. And you bring the knife round, all the way around like that. And you should come. And you got all the nerve endings and that inside there. There you go. The pheasant's ready now. He's ready to cook almost. Just got to take all the innards out basically.
We said that we were going to do some cutting up of vegetables today to go in our pasta and chicken salad. So then, when we're using knives in the kitchen, the things we have to remember is that they are sharp, yeah? so we have to be careful with them. But there's some easy ways to make sure that it's as safe as we can do. We make a bridge with our hand, and the train, which is the knife, goes underneath. Make sure you've got it the sharp side down, and this is the blunt side at the top. So if you make a bridge, can you see like that? Yeah. Then the knife goes under like this, and that way we know that our knife isn't going to poke into our fingers, which is good. So guys, we've got a few vegetables to have today. We've got, yeah, you can. Shall I cut it in half so you can have a go at getting it further? So can you see how I'm doing my bridge? There we go. And I'm laying things flat on the board. I'm not trying to cut it up in the air, am I? And then, look, you pull it apart, oh, like a flower. Let's watch you go first. So there's your bridge, and there's your, excellent. You see, simple as that. And you've done that so well, because that was a really nice, safe way to go about it, wasn't it? The thing about tomatoes...
Got cut in the middle.
Yeah, they can be a little bit, the skin can be a bit sort of tight sometimes. So if you do that, you can make a little pokey hole like that, and then it's really easy to cut through like that. There we go. And then you can lie it sort of like that and cut through. So there you go. Your hand goes, where's your bridge? If you're going to cut it down the middle, your hand goes either side like a bridge like that, and then the knife goes underneath. There you go. So give it backwards and sawing sort of motion. There you go, perfect. Could you cut those up again, sort of so that they're sort of smaller again? How are you doing? You're doing brilliantly. Do you want to have a go at a spring onion as well? Yeah? I think you're doing fine. I think that's absolutely fine. Why don't you make a start on this one now, my love? Yeah?
On my thumb.
What's on your thumb? Oh, you all right? Yeah. It gets a bit juicy, doesn't it? That's plenty small enough. You're doing really well. How are you getting on with those? Good job.
I can cook, but I do like learning new, lots of new dishes more than anything. We did chicken tikka this week, which I've always loved chicken tikka, and I don't know how to make it, and it's absolutely fantastic. 3 of us made it. 3 of us made it in 3 different ways, and it all tasted totally different. To make a chicken tikka, we used, we cooked off our onions first, then we put our spices in, which was cumin, paprika, garlic, and some other mixed spices. Then followed on by putting tomato puree in, then tomatoes, and then cooking that off, and then putting the chicken in. Roasting that all off, and then we dished it up. Then following by that, we made rice. We put onions with that, sweated that for at least an hour. And we put more garlic with that as well, because I love garlic. And what else did we put with it? Salt and pepper, and then we just dished up, and it was amazing. But it was a long dish, but it was absolutely worth it. It was really, really worth it.
Make a seat, my love. You can find one because we're very busy today.
What's wrong for breakfast? I'm bacon sarnie, well done.
All right then. Don't worry, everything might take right now.
Bacon sandwich, please, for sandwich. Yeah. Mate, you're spilling all your coffee, love.
They look like they hash browns with the onions.
No, they contains onion, that's why. Browning, yeah.
Curly,
Sugar, mate.
cheese and tomato omelette, please, with salad.
Yes, salad. Bacon sandwich.
Quiet today, innit?
Is that it for now, Mark?
Yeah, that's it for now, George. George, Jamie Oliver.
I was thinking of working with you, actually. I've really got to get us a dishwasher, innit?
Break time. Break time.
Having a bad day.
One of the things I like about making my own cakes is being able to do my own designs and seeing the reactions of my family. This is how I make my piping bags. Okay, and you get your grease-proof paper, and you cut it into a triangle like this, and then you just cut all of one end. Okay, wrap it around your fingers so you've got a point at the end. Okay, and then you just tuck this in, and then you can cut the end off and then put your piping tube in, and there you go. And then you put your icing in and you're away. This is one of the piping bags that I'd made earlier for decorating this cake. It's fairly simple. Just press the end and the icing comes out.
We made our oatmeal raisin cookies earlier, didn't we, guys? And it's really nice to have sweet things. We know that we like to have sweet things in our diet, and there's nothing wrong with that. But let's do it in a healthier way. So we're having cookies, but they've got oats in them, which is a whole grain. It's a source of fibre, and it's a slow release carb. So hopefully if you have this mid-morning as a snack, it'll keep you going till lunch. Why not? Can I have a bit of this one?
It's going to be good.
Thanks.
We made these oatmeal cookies by using some raisins, oats, sugar, ginger and olive oil.
It's got natural sweetness in it from the dried fruits, from the raisins and sultanas which we used. So yes, it does have some sugar and everything else in it, but it's a happy medium, isn't it?
This is a pheasant. I was shot about a week and a couple of days, I think. I'm going to pluck it for you. I start from around about here, and I bring the feathers down slowly like that, and taking feathers off and dropping. A bit awkward sometimes. Sometimes the skin tears, but with a pheasant that doesn't matter so much. Technique is actually grabbing the feather as near as you can to the skin and pulling down towards the neck, twisting. You're doing that, basically. There you go. He's out. He's right out of the skin. Going right up under the wings as far as I can. Clearing off as I go. Same on this side. And I'm coming back up towards the legs now. Some people like plucking them quite fresh because they are a lot easier to pluck. I always start from the bottom of the breast up to the top. And I work my way around slowly, around the back. There is an easier way. You skin them. It's a lot easier, it's a lot tidier. Not being funny, I prefer to do this way. Then I know I'm giving that animal his rightful thing. He's been brought up not just to be just chucked in the oven, he's been brought up with a bit of respect. Yeah. It looks cruel, but it ain't. The animal's got no feelings at the moment because it's dead. As you can see on the back feathers, there ain't so much down. They need the thicker feathers on the back, mainly for waterproofing and keeping them warm. The bigger feathers as they're coming up through here, a slightly different technique because they're stronger in. You can do that one, just pull straight out. The legs are a lot easier to do, they always have been. I don't know why. The skin's just a lot firmer on it. If it was all like this, it'd be brilliant. And you can tell this bird's been bled quite well because its meat's not too dark. You can hang them up to a month. A lot of people run, apparently the meat gets sweeter. I tend to hang mine for about a week to 2 weeks. Grab a tail feather, you pull, and it should come out like that. That was the easy one. There we go. So, as I said, they get tougher as they go along. Bigger the feather, the tougher it is to get out. There we go.
A fresh fish, if it's fillet, it's a lovely white fish. Of oily fish, which is your salmon and your mackerel or herrings, sardines. You look for a bright eye with nice red gills and a firm body and a glossy coat. And with like a trout is quite kind of a slime on it. Again, you'll always have a bright eye and a firm body.
Today I'll be telling you about how to make a cherry flapjack. The first thing you start off with is your butter. You need 50 grams of butter and put that into a saucepan. And then you need to make sure it's melted and cut up 75 grams of cherries or whatever you want to use and put that to one side. And then you need 50 grams of sugar and put that into a saucepan, and 50 grams of, no, 150 grams of oats, and put that into the saucepan after the butter's melted and mix it in with the cherries. With the oven, you need, if you have a gas oven, there's a little button on the side with like a lightning bolt. Click that and turn the oven on and make sure that gas mark 4, otherwise it'll burn. And then it's the same with the saucepan. Push it in, and then twist to what ring you're using. And then just make sure it's the right ring and at the right heat. And with the grease or grease-proof pan or non-grease-proof, if you're using non-grease-proof, you need to put that grease paper on it, grease it, and then just leave it to the side. Because if you don't grease it, it will stick to the bottom of the pan or the paper. You cook it for about 15 minutes, and if you know it's ready, because it starts off when it's done, when you put it in the oven, that is all sticky and gooey, and then all that disappears and it's just soft, and that will be done. And when you take it out of the oven, it should go hard, and then that means it's ready to eat. Tasty. Anchovy.
We have our famous meal, which is nasi lemak. It's like a rice with chili sauce beside, with boiled eggs, nuts, and a little bit of fish, those little fishes, and cucumber as a side dish. We also have satay. It's like more like a BBQ, more of, and then with a nut sauce and some nasi impeh. It's more like a cube rice pressed together. The dish for satay is like, the nut sauce it's like for the dip for the satay. The ingredients is like nuts, and then you have to put with crushed garlics. Malaysian food, we have, if we want to eat meat, we have halal meat. So sometimes we can, and then we can eat our favorite way of eating, because Malaysia we have lots of side dishes. In UK, it's like you have to have one portion. For example, like fish and chips, steak, roasted, something like that. It's quite different from Malaysia. For salads, like ulam, I forgot, I don't know how to say it in English though. It's like all the leaves, herbal leaves that we can eat, and then there's a sauce for it. It's like you have to mash with chilies and put a little bit of sauce, soy sauce, and then you smash it together. All I could describe is I love them. I really love them. I like all of them because I cannot describe how it is, because I really like Malaysian foods.
I started as a butcher when I was 13 years old. I come in, I asked for a job because my family come from a bit of a poor background, and I couldn't afford name clothes or anything like that, so I thought I'd try and save up money myself. I learned all the butchery through watching, trying myself. I never got everything right at first. No one does. I did cut a few things quite wrong. Did get a few telling off because I tried doing it too quick. It's the top of beef. I'm breaking it down, going down through seams between the thick flank and the top side. Doing this prevents any gristle going onto the top side. I'll just make one roll out of it for you. As you can see, that's cutting very lean. We're just going to trim it up, get rid of any excess fat and gristle we don't need. No meats are exactly the same colour. All meat is different. Obviously on how they're reared and brought up determines how lean, how fat, the colour, the tenderness and the strength. Obviously supermarket meat you'll find is usually very, very pale, and that's because there's too much proteins pumped into them and water pumped into them before they're packed. But with something like this, we leave it to hang in the fridge to keep its colour, let the blood drip out of it, and it also keeps a bit of blood in it for a nice bit of moisture after it's being cooked. It's the fat will be bashed out and flattened to make it the right shape for the piece of meat that we're going to be rolling. Got a bit of string, little butcher string, a butcher slip knot. Always roll beef and pull the knot really tight on beef. So when it's cooking, it cooks out the blood. But we roll this fat onto the top of the joint because when it's cooking, then the fat melts and releases a bit of flavour into the meat. There you go, and that one's ready to be sold. It'll be hung up in the fridge. Lovely to have on your roast dinner. That one's done.
And we do have a class that we have organised for mothers with young children, and then for that we'll start at weaning stage and then go through up to 5 years. Basically try to get the parents to make the food that they're going to make for themselves that incorporates the child, and the most important thing is for the family to eat all together. You know, a lot of people these days have food in front of the telly, but it's really quite important to try at least a few times a week to have a meal round a table where everybody sits and talks and eats the meal, and hopefully the children will help you make the meal. The children's classes that we teach, the children are really keen, and sometimes they say, oh, I don't like this vegetable, I don't like that vegetable, but we do try and encourage them to at least try it, and maybe if they sort of taste it and something they haven't tasted before, like an apricot or an avocado, and generally they do like it, and you find after a few weeks they're ready to embrace more new foods. The worst thing is when the parents say, oh, they don't like that. So, you know, it's quite good to have the children on their own, because then we can say, well, at least try it. You're supposed to try something at least 15 times before you can say you really don't like it. If after the 15th time you still don't like it, fair enough, but give it a try for 15 times. That goes across the board for adults and children.
I'm following Slimming World. I'm doing it on a referral scheme at the moment, which Sally at Fit and Fab had given me the vouchers for initially. I've lost 3 stone, 3 so far, so that's all going pretty good. I suppose really it's down to clothes and stuff and wanting to fit into clothes from shops that are affordable rather than paying 3 times the price that other people have to pay for clothes. So, because when you're in the bigger sizes, you're paying a good £10, £15 an item more than you are in smaller sizes. There's 3 plans. At the moment, most people follow Extra Easy because it pretty much merges the 2 plans together. So you can say all your proteins like, I don't know, ham, chicken, beef, all that kind of food is free. You can eat as much of it as you want to. Pastas, pulses, baked beans, that kind of thing, again, is all free. You can eat as much as you want to. You have super free food. Your plate basically needs to consist of a third of super free food, and then the rest of your plate can consist of either food group, the red or the green, which is like your protein on your red, and your green are like your pastas and stuff. And then you do get between 10 and 15 sins a day for kind of your treat things, the things that you're not supposed to have too much of, but you need to include because otherwise you'll be bored. I think a lot of women are emotional eaters, so when you're trying not to strangle a 15-year-old, it's very tempting to go and make yourself feel better with a bar of chocolate. So yeah, I suppose I go through stages. Sometimes I'm really, really kind of into it and I'm really fit and I'm going to the gym, and then other times life just takes over and you kind of get a little bit lost along the way. Like, it's definitely beneficial if you go to a group because you make friends, you gain a lot of support. Quite a lot of members will, or a few members will come in, pay their money, weigh and run, and yet they lose the entire benefit of going to a group. So, because after we've all weighed, we'll have like a session where we talk and we gain support and we gain advice, and most times, or if you've gone in and you've had a bad week, you can actually come out feeling really positive. If you're not in the right mind space, it's nigh on impossible to do it. So yeah, it is determination. You just have to find something to kind of focus on. And I think one of the things I've accepted is you took a while to get big, so you're going to take a while to get small. And if you blow it one week, it doesn't matter. It's like no big deal, because it's so easy to think, oh, I've messed up this week, and then that goes on to next month and the next month. Now it's just like, oh well, never mind.
It's important to eat fresh meat because it contains proteins, irons, everything your body needs. It gives you strength. My boss's son was an ex-international rugby player, and his physios always found he recovered 2 weeks earlier from injuries because he ate so much meat. It made his muscles grow stronger. Meat is a very important thing to eat, and I don't believe what the doctors say about eating too much meat is bad for you. The quality of my meat is it comes from a local abattoir who's also has a farm as well. So all the cows, pigs, lambs that's being slaughtered are from the farm, being reared properly. It's not being mass produced, obviously because they're only a small business, small abattoir themselves. They're not being pumped full of any proteins or anything like that. So it's taken time. The cows are a good 18, 20, 24 months old, whereas in a supermarket, they're just come from mass produced abattoirs, pumped full of proteins, and when they're packed, pumped full of water as well. So it's always going to be better buying from a butcher. It's properly reared. It's always going to be fresh. It's never ever packed, always cut in front of you. This braising steak comes out lovely. You can fry it or put it in for a casserole or just a bit of steak and chips. Sounds good to me. I do eat a lot of meat, I gotta admit, yeah. I eat meat every day of the week.
Well, if I just think about an overall diet, you need to have breakfast, which is what people don't tend to have. So they need a good sort of, like oats is a good breakfast with fruits because you've got the carbohydrates to get your energy going. You've got the vitamins and minerals from the fruit and veg. So that's a good start. Make sure that we eat what our body needs. Some people body needs lots of carbs, some people need lots of fruit and vegetables, and it's sort of listening to our bodies. What we don't need is lots of fats. We don't need a lot of fats because you would feel sluggish. So that's one way to know what you should eat. If you feel sluggish, then you're eating too much of particular foods. And we tend to, when we eat lots of sugars, fatty foods, we tend to feel exhausted. But when we eat lots of vegetables, we feel energized. People tend to eat lots of meat now. We only need about 50% of protein in our diet a day, which is enough. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it's quite a lot of protein. And we need to make up our plate of lots of vegetables, a huge amount of vegetables, and starchy foods like rice, pasta.
It's very important to have the right ingredients when you're making cakes, because if you don't, things can go wrong. If you put too much liquid in, the cake won't rise properly and it'll be too soggy. Or if you open the oven too soon when the cake's being made, that can make it, flop right in the middle. So when you are making a cake, you should at least, before you open the oven, you should cook it for at least 3/4 of an hour before you actually open the oven to check it, because otherwise you will have a problem. I always follow recipes when I'm making cakes, because if you don't, then you can find things go wrong. So yes, always follow a recipe. If you want to make a cake last, for a few months, so you want to start to get it ready for Christmas, you can use a fruit cake and they last for a good 3 months. You can make them, wrap them up in greaseproof paper, and then every now and again, put your little bit of tipple in, a bit of brandy, and then wrap them back up, and you can carry on doing that, for a good, say 3 months. Obviously with a sponge cake, you can only keep it for about a week.
Going to explain to you now about a fruit and hedge that we planted a couple of years ago. Fruit and hedge is ideal for anyone with a small garden. Have a normal edge and then plant fruit trees in amongst it. The fruit trees do very well in fruit and hedge. We have lots of native trees in ours. We have field maple, dogwood, hazel, also black currants, red currants and gooseberries. And as you can see, we have a plum tree, which is doing very well. Nice lot of plums on here. So all these fruit trees will grow naturally in any garden. So why not plant a fruit tree in a bush and then let it carry on.
These are runner beans. They've been in for quite some time now, and they're really healthy because I've been using a lot of horse manure and making sure that the ground's warm during the winter, and that's the reason why they've climbed so high and looking healthy. This is an arch structure. It's probably one of the strongest. There's so many different kinds and different names for them, but I prefer to use this one because it's the quickest to put up and the most steadiest. I put it together by using 5 bamboos, put them all in the ground, similar in a square, and then just put one anywhere. And then you tie the top together with a bit of string, which makes it sturdy, and then you plant the plant at the bottom and it automatically climbs up. These are bigger than I thought. It's a nice big one there.
Today I'm harvesting the beetroot, which I planted in April in the polytunnel.
It's the biggest one.
And this is the biggest beetroot. And to get a big beetroot, you need a lot of sunlight, a lot of space for it to grow, and then frequently water.
It's quite a beetroot. You big little ones in.
When Norwest first became settled up, it was right on the edge of town.